Hi, this is Jody King Colegrove with Quantum Techniques, which is the most comprehensive diagnostic form of energy medicine in the world today. I work with people all over the world over the phone to help them discover the reason why they're not healing, and how to get their health and happiness back. Recently, we got a new puppy, and it's hard, but we decided that after reading a lot of the research on what to give pets in regards to vaccines, that it was a good idea to give her 2 different parvo vaccines. So when she left the breeder, she got the first one, and then we got the second one probably about 8 weeks later, which is not a normal regiment for vets like to do, and it wasn't also combined with distemper, because we do find that doing that creates quite a bit of issues and compounds. What we find is may be disrupted in the dog. So after about a couple days, I started noticing that her behavior started changing. Not hugely, but it was enough to say, okay, something has shifted here, something we need to find. And as it kind of persisted, I finally said, okay, I'm going to work with her every single day to find out what's going on. And a lot of times we do heal in layers. In other words, when we have one layer that heals, then another layer comes up for healing. And so sometimes we do need to run kind of different days, different scans of quantum techniques to help with that. So what we were finding with the pet is that she was licking her bladder a lot, which indicates a lot of times a bladder infection. We also found that she had itchy skin. She would bite at her like arms and things like that, or back legs. We also found that she had some muscle weakness. So I'd go to pet her and her back end would kind of sit down quite quickly. Also found that she obviously was aggressive, and so she had some biting and some charging at us. She had some gas. She also started having shedding a lot, so she had a lot of hair loss. We also found that she had a kind of, not so much decrease in weight, but she wasn't maintaining kind of her body size. In other words, I felt like her nutritional ability to hold her nutrition was in compromise. So sure enough, with quantum techniques, we were able to test what's going on. One of the things that sometimes does happen with vaccines is that we have certain things that get kind of knocked off because the body's trying to understand, okay, I have this substance, what am I supposed to do with it? And sometimes it goes places it's not supposed to go. So a lot of times, and I got this from a fellow practitioner a while ago, and it talks about sometimes vaccines will hide the immune intelligence. So sometimes the own immunity will be suppressed, or it won't function as well as it should. And so you'll find that that's why they say sometimes you'll get other viruses or bacterias after you've had a vaccine. It also creates curtains, which we talk a lot in quantum techniques. It can also activate miasms, and miasms are generational fields. A lot of times we're born with DNA or things that kind of repeat in our generations, and so that's something that can be activated. It also brings up dormant infections that can happen, like say Lyme's disease and things like that. Other things it can do is it affects the central nervous system, and it activates polymicrobe organisms, and it can affect the mucosal lining, which is the whole interior skin of the body. So you have the mucosal lining in your mouth, down into your gut. For women, it's in the vagina area and things like that. It also disrupts the Peyer's patch in the intestines. It can also bring down the pain tolerance and suppresses the immune system, which we've kind of talked about. So those are just some things to be aware of when you get a vaccine and what to do about it. So what we wanted to do is find out, okay, how was our new puppy being impacted? And these were the symptoms that I found. So I started and said, okay, on a particular day, what particular scan does she need in quantum techniques to help her? So the first day I found that she needed a lock and key pathogen scan. There's just one of the scans that we do at quantum techniques, and what it is we have a lock. In other words, the certain tissue that's involved, then we combine it with with the viruses or bacteria that's going on, and that's the lock. We kind of combine those together, and then we add another pathogen virus or bacteria or fungal or whatever it is, and that kind of unlocks that first lock and key. So sure enough, I found a lot of things, was able to clear it. She actually got pretty sleepy that day and slept, and so I tested her to make sure she had a good enough immune or in other words, I didn't want her to have too much die-off, and so we put an energy shield a lot of times on our codes to help that die-off not be so much, like diarrhea. Sometimes you can get nausea, but not too often. And so sure enough, I put an energy shield on it, and she didn't have much die-off. That evening, we immediately started noticing that she wasn't as aggressive, didn't bite as hard. In other words, she would still put your mouth on you, but she wouldn't bite down deep, and it wasn't so quick, so that we would get like these scratches and things like that. So the next day I said, okay, let's see if there's another layer that comes up. And sure enough, there was. So the next layer that we found that I needed to do with her is a multi-dimensional scan. And what that is a lot of times when you have Navy SEALs, they have to go in and get a job done. And so they kind of turn off all of their emotions and just go in and get a job done. Well, sure enough, our bodies kind of do the same thing as a protection. And so I found that she had kind of locked up some emotions from this vaccine, or that could be repeat issues in her lifetime that were being affected here. So I was able to clear her of the different emotions that were kind of stuck in her tissue and organs that were impacting her and making her more aggressive and having these kind of symptoms. So I was able to clear that. So the next day I went in and I said, okay, what else does she need now? And sure enough, I got that this time I just needed to do a normal scan. So I did, and I found out that I needed to clear the skin, also the small intestine, for inflammation. Typically our organs function on a scale from 1 to 10, and so I made sure that all the organs that I was dealing with those symptoms were functioning at 10 out of 10. And if they weren't, I would clear those. Another thing I would test to see is how much inflammation she had. So I would also clear that, and to make sure the inflammation was below a 10. So sure enough, by the 4th day, we had a much more happy, balanced, fun-loving puppy. I had already worked with her on oxytocin factors with Steve Daniel, and helped her have kind of a more connection with us. And so today I have a much more loving, quiet, calm, peaceful dog. So just wanted to share that with you because it was a joy in our life. Bring home a puppy and you want to love them and they want to bite you. It's not a good mix. So visit our website at quantumtechniques.com. We have lots of information, lots of YouTube information, videos, downloads, codes that you can use to help you get your health and happiness back. And we also can go on there and request a session request form. And that way you can have a quantum technique session with me that it can, for an hour, to diagnostically find out what's going on and why this is happening and how to get your health and happiness back. So I look forward to working with you, and blessings from Quantum Techniques.